So today's guest is none other than Geoff Palmer. He's an absolute legend when it comes to vegan bodybuilding and fitness. He's the CEO and founder of Clean Machine, a vegan supplement company. And the entire talk goes over everything from his nutrition tips, from his philosophy of life. It's very interesting, so stay tuned. Today I'm excited. We have one of the legends in the vegan bodybuilding scene on our show here, Geoff Palmer. And yeah, I think for everybody that might not know you on our channel, maybe you can give a very quick introduction about who you are, where you come from, what you do, and then we can go into the details and the specifics later.
Sure. So I've been in the natural products industry, working in the natural products industry, and finally developed my own brand, Clean Machine, for a completely plant-based sports nutrition company. And I have been an athlete most of my life, since being a swimmer in high school and college, all the way up into, I'm 56 years now, and 34 years vegan.
Oh, that's a long time. That's great.
Yeah, it was quite different back then, becoming vegan, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, that would have been my next question, because I mean, now it's getting more popular, but back then, especially coming from a bodybuilding background, I think it was not the most common thing at all.
No, it wasn't. And yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that there was a word vegan back when I became vegan 34 years ago. I just was calling myself a strict vegetarian because I had never even heard of the word vegan. And when somebody came up and said, "Oh, you're vegan," I was like, "Oh, cool, there's a word for it." That's great. But yeah, it was very different, especially as an athlete. Back then, most of the science was reporting that you needed animal products to be an athlete, and now we know that's nonsense.
So what made you decide to become a vegan at that point?
Yeah, so I had a very personal change. I was suffering with depression, and was heavily because of the depression, I was trying self-medication through drugs and everything else, and actually it got so bad I attempted to take my life a couple of times. But I met somebody, fortunately, that talked me back into my own pain and helped me to release it. But it was such a soul-deep release of that pain and anger, and move into forgiveness, and I realized it just re-let out all this love that I was holding back, because that anger and sadness was sitting on top, and I wasn't allowing myself to have a connection with anyone. And when I reconnected to who I really am, a very loving, compassionate person, oh my God, it was like a second chance at life. And I sat in meditation all night after I had that breakthrough. And as the sun was rising up the next morning, it just came to me. I kept asking myself, after all that suffering that I went through, and how I freed myself from, or had helped somebody helped me free myself from that suffering, how could I contribute to less suffering in the world? So I just kept meditating on that. How can I contribute to less suffering in the world? And it just came to me, stop harming the animals. And so I did. I became vegan that day. I quit smoking, quit drinking, quit doing all drugs, and quit eating all animal products in one day. It was that clear to me. I just didn't want to harm myself anymore. I didn't want to harm the environment. I didn't want to harm the animals. I wanted to turn my life around into helping others feel the happiness that I was feeling. I wanted to give that back. So I committed the rest of my life to dedicating to finding ways to help people live a healthy and happier life, and one free of suffering, and how they can learn to contribute to less suffering in this world through adopting a plant-based vegan diet.
Well, I have to admit that was the most...
It's not your usual vegan choice change, but it was my path, and I hope to encourage, by being a living example At 34 years being vegan, at 56 years of age, I'm still a natural bodybuilding and physique champion. So you can live in ideal health all the way through the end. I take no medications whatsoever. I have no illnesses. At 56, I've outlived both my brother and my father already, and I'm in the best health and condition of my life. So it's about quality of life, but not only my life, but of others. And when you live a life that is more than just about yourself, it can be so much more full. I mean, the rewards of living a life where you're contributing to the benefit of others, so rewarding. There's nothing like it.
Wow. Yeah, that's one of the most inspiring stories I've ever heard. Very different from what you usually hear. So I know there's so many questions popping up in my mind right now where I would like to go, because I think a lot of people listening at this point, including myself, are probably really interested in what are some of the techniques that made you come to this realization, and people who might be going through like a tough time right now, what would you recommend them to, like if there's any certain strategies or techniques that they can do in order to get out of the slump, maybe focus on their fellow human beings a little bit more. Anything that you can share?
Yeah, one of the biggest aha moments for me in that release, I came into this world and I was raised by very loving, progressive parents with an open mind and an embracing of all peoples, regardless of any differences. And but what I found in the world was something very different than that. A lot of intolerance, a lot of anger and hate, even self-hate, and it's challenging because you can see that and say, well, where does a compassionate, caring person fit in a world like this? You know, where it's so full of judgment and competition and anger and competitiveness towards each other instead of cooperation and helping each other. You know, it's like, I ask myself, do I even want to live here? Am I in the right place? You know, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who feel that way, especially if you are sensitive, caring, compassionate person, when you're faced by the hostilities that the world can bring. And, you know, for me, the biggest aha moment was when I turned that view around. It was at that moment when I realized I didn't come here to get something. I came here to give something. And when you have love in your life, if you're a loving person, that's the greatest gift you have to give the rest of the world. I mean, where does a doctor and a nurse go? To the hospital, where all the sick people are. Why? Because that's where they can be the best help to the people that need it. If you're a truly caring, sensitive, bright person that has something to give, you're in the right place. This world needs a lot of us, needs our help. You're in the right place. So that changed it from a disempowering worldview where I didn't feel fit in. I feel like I wanted to leave this world, into, wow, I'm here to help other people. I'm totally in the right place. I know I have gifts to give that can be a real benefit to people. And there's good messages in there. I mean, there's so many things we can do to help. It doesn't have to be veganism. It can be anything that you have that is a gift to you, that you're good at, that when you talk to people, you see people's face light up. We all have those gifts. It's just, are you going to focus on those and bring them forward, or are you going to focus on the negativity that's coming towards you? That's the real challenge in life. If you can change that view around so that you're here to give something, it can be a very empowered and beautiful, wonderful life, even in a challenging world that we live in.
That's awesome. Yeah, we definitely need more people thinking and acting like that in the world, for sure. That's interesting. Yeah, that's something that I really like about Americans. You guys have a very different approach to thinking and living. Like, there's a lot more, even though there's also more negativity, I would say, than in Europe, there's also a lot more strong positivity, which I find very interesting.
It's
very
true.
And in Germany, everything is very middle.
Yeah, very in the middle of the road. And that's okay too, but we all have to challenge ourselves to find our best selves. Because not only for what we can give to others and how we can help others, but the life that you want to live. Do you want to live an average life, or do you want to live a fantastic life, an empowered life, a enlightened life? The experience is yours to choose, and we all have our choices. But
so you mentioned the most nutritious vegan food, which is also being the most nutritious vegan protein and superfood, and
yes.
I think it's lentil, right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a water plant. It's a little confusing because it's colloquially called water lentils, but then people think, oh, it's lentils. It's like, no, it's not lentils. It's this tiny green plant that floats on the water. The locals around here call it duckweed because the ducks eat it. And but we've been trying to kill it as a weed for probably the last 50 years until somebody figured out, oh, wait a minute, this has got more nutrition in it than any plant we're currently growing. Pretty incredible. The World Health Organization even said it's the most complete food source on the planet. They're even testing it for Mars right now because it could be grown on water. So obviously Mars doesn't have soil like we do. But it is so complete in nutrition with your omega-3s, your fiber, your protein, micronutrients are off the charts, antioxidants, lutein, all of this packed into this amazing whole food plant. And it grows in 48 hours with very little consumption of water. So it's just incredible plant all the way around. The lowest water plant use of water by any plant and food crop. Can be harvested 365 days a year. So it's the most nutrition per square inch of any food crop. I mean, just the list goes on. It's just a phenomenal plant. And for me to be the first person in the world to bring this exceptional plant to market, the highest in the #1 superfood and the #1 plant, higher in essential amino acids and branched chain amino acids, which stimulate muscle growth, higher than any other plant in its whole food state period that we know of. So even soy, which was the #1 plant protein as far as amino acid profile goes. So it's exciting to bring that to market and win 4 awards for it already. IFT award for most innovative food, the CGP award for the best ingredient, the Eco Excellence Award for the most environmentally food crop, and then of course the top national award in the United States for supplements, the Nexty Award for best supplement of the year for 2018. So that's a reward for me to know that even the industry is seeing what we're doing is exceptional. And it's interesting, there's a lot of other companies out there that won't bring something like this to market because it takes a lot of education, because it's, it doesn't taste like a candy bar or whatever. But I'm more trying to reach those people who care about their bodies, who want the best for their body, the best for the environment, and the best for the animals. If you want the absolute best, and that's more important to you, then we have a product that can fit that. And that's my gift back to those people who also really care about those things. If you want something that tastes like a chocolate milkshake, there's other products out there for you. But if you want the best nutrition for your cells, for your brain, for your health, for the environment, for the animals, there's nothing like it on the market.
That's awesome. I really want to try it as well. And I mean, you're living proof that it works.
Indeed. And there's nothing like nutrition. People call me up after taking it for a little while and say, are there stimulants in this? And I'm like, no, that's what real energy feels like. That's when you give all these nutrients, the fiber to feed your intestinal flora, the over 50% of your omega-3s in just one scoop. I mean, it is like one of the most omega-3 rich plants out there. Lutein, neuroprotective for your brain, protective for your eyes, especially if you're staring at video screens all day. So, it's a true gift of nature, and the plant's the real hero. I'm just glad to be the messenger to bring this to people.
Yeah, I hope that the awareness goes up a little bit, because before you mentioned it, I never ever heard about it, because I think in Europe we don't have it. So yeah, for everybody out there who wants to check out Corin's interview, I'm going to link it up here. Very interesting guy as well. But yeah, I really would like to try it because I think the best we can get in Europe is maybe some sprouted grain protein. But that sounds a lot better, to be honest. I would really like to try it at some point.
Yeah, and one of the other big differences is that we use the whole plant. So our product is 60% true whole food. The only thing it is pressed and dried. It actually goes right from the pond up a conveyor belt, and within 40 minutes it's powder. So it's as fresh as you can actually get it. And using the whole plant, the root, the stem, the leaf, the flower, everything goes into the product. So it is really true whole food, where most of the other proteins on the market, they just isolate out mostly the protein, and then all the good stuff gets tossed out.
So it basically is raw?
It is flash steamed because it's coming off of water, so there are natural bacteria occurring in the water. You have to kill the bacteria to make it safe for human consumption.
But in general,
just momentarily, so it does not interfere with the nutrition of it. Actually, because almost all of the dark greens have some phytates in them, phytic acid, which can inhibit the absorption of some of the nutrients. That's why most people steam, like kale or spinach. And in that process of flash steaming, it neutralizes the phytates too. So that makes it a much more, all of those nutrients that you can get, out of the product become more bioavailable.
That's awesome. And in your regular diet, do you eat a lot of raw food, for example, or what does a regular day look like in your life?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I went on a path of seeing how healthy I could get, basically, and I went completely raw, for 100% raw for 4 years, and for a year and a half of that, I actually went fruitarian, fruits and nuts and seeds to be specific, but about 90% fruit in my diet, and I did that for a year and a half. My experience was my own personal experience, so I'm not suggesting it's anybody else's experience. It's a very individual thing. But my experiences was that I became so sensitive that it became difficult to be around people because I could feel their unhappiness. I could feel their energy levels, and it became tough to be around people without doing things, but it also became tough to be around all this electricity, all of the chemicals that are everywhere and everything that we're using, the plastics. I became too sensitive to all that to the point where I just wanted to live alone in the woods. And I'm like, okay, but am I doing the best for others by doing this? I felt at some point it became a little bit selfish. I was improving my life, but to the point where I wasn't helping anybody else at that point because I was becoming more and more isolated. So I made a conscious choice to say, okay, I'm going to bring some cooked foods back into my life so that I can ground my constitution a little bit more and be less sensitive so that I can engage with people on a normal basis. Because I feel like my experience is valuable for people to hear about and to share with them, and I don't want to keep that just for myself. So now I enjoy foods along the spectrum, but I make most of my foods during the main of the day, whole food and raw, and then I have cooked meals with my wife at night. She's a wonderful vegan cook. She's a vegan 27 years, so yeah. So I enjoy what life has to offer. It's an interesting time. 35 years ago, vegan food options were basically whole raw plant foods. That was it. And now there's such a plethora of options and amazing food choices. And I'm not suggesting turn into a vegan junk food diet. I'm not. But having a vegan donut once in a blue moon, as long as you're having something good with it, to offset your antioxidants and your fiber and those things, I think you can enjoy life and be social with other people and enjoy different foods. Dr. Joel Fuhrman coined a phrase that I really like and adhere to, which is called nutritarian. which is really making not only your food choices vegetarian or vegan, in this case, he's a vegan doctor, but also look at the nutrient quality of the foods you're consuming. And that's why I love Lintein so much, because it is the absolute best in nutrient density. So I start out with a clean green protein, lots of berries, and that's what I usually make my breakfast out of, because berries are high in antioxidants and polyphenols. When you start to break that down, when you start eating healthy and the fiber comes through and starts pulling away that mucus in the intestinal tract and stuff like that, those toxins can be released. When you start breaking down fat, toxins can be released from them. When our body can't eliminate toxins quickly enough through the liver and the kidneys and the skin and the eliminatory organs, even our breath, when it can't get them out, what it does is to protect them from damaging vital tissues and organs, it takes them and surrounds them in fat and water. Now it's encased. Now that particle can't harm anything in our body, but it'll hold on to them. And if you ever had stubborn fat that won't go away, that's your body saying, no, I'm not going to break down that fat because there's toxins in there, and it'll release it into the bloodstream. And then you're going to feel like crap, or it's going to damage you. So work on cleaning up your diet first. And as you do that, some of those toxins are going to be released. You may feel nausea. You may feel headachy. Your joints may hurt because your body can store it in your joint tissues because there's no vital tissues there. Cartilage will do that. Obviously, if you're storing toxins in the joints too long, it can degrade the actual joint tissues. And that's where you can get serious inflammation and stuff like that. But as you start to detoxify even from the joints and the fatty, you're going to feel crappy. And one of the big things is that people feel is, I feel less energy on a vegan diet when I just started. And I'm like, great. That's your body taking all that energy that you use as normal physical energy and using it for proper digestion, healing, and repairing. It's taking energy and focusing it on what it needs most to eliminate those toxins and get them out of your body as quickly as possible. So instead of saying, oh, I feel tired, I'll drink a cup of coffee, that's absolutely the wrong thing to do. If you feel tired, sleep more. Let your body rest, heal and repair and do its thing. Let your body convert that physical energy into healing and repairing energy, and it can do its thing. So don't fight what you're going through. If you start feeling nauseous and the headachy and the stuff where all this toxins is making a couple of trips around the block before the liver can screen it out, allow your body to do that. Drink more water, drink more fluids, flush it all out. So learn how to work with your body when it's going through its tear down phase. Your body says, I've built muscle, I've built tissues, I've got stuff made out of inferior products. Now I've got healthy, whole food, vital, nutrients coming in. All right, let's tear down that muscle and rebuild it with new stuff. Let's tear down those tissues and rebuild it with stronger and better materials. And in that process, you're going to feel weaker. You'll feel less energy. You may feel nauseous. That's great. That's your body repairing and renewing itself. That's exactly what you want. So allow yourself to go through that process, and you're going to feel so much more energy and better when you do that. And remember, your body will go through stages of that process. So you'll feel worse as it's tearing down, then you'll feel better. Then it'll go through another phase of tearing it down and then feel better. But as you do, each time you do that, each time you go through those phases, you are improving your whole body's physical health, and you're going to be really rewarded for it in the end. So don't be discouraged by the detoxification symptoms that a lot of people go through when they switch diets, especially a major switch like going from a standard American diet to a vegan diet.
And especially probably the longer they were on the standard American diet before, the longer also this process going to take, right?
Absolutely. And then the older you are too, because that's the same thing. And generally, if you're older, it takes more for it. And physical exercise. Physical exercise can accelerate this process of tearing down and replacing these tissues. So combining with exercise and drinking lots of water. I mean, you should be going to the bathroom 20, 30 times a day. That's how much water you should be drinking during that phase. Up to 2 gallons of water per day to really cleanse the body and function, if you want to. And look, these are not rules. These are guidelines. The more toxic you feel, the more water you should be drinking, and stuff like that. And again, don't fight the energy. If you're feeling lower energy, it's your body saying, I need more rest. Let me convert that energy to things. Once you're done with that cycle, you're going to have more energy than you've ever had before, because up to 30% of all the energy your body uses goes to digestion. So if you just eat less, you're using less energy for that, and you can use more energy for healing and repairing. And that's exactly what a plant food-based diet is. It's easier to digest, fruits especially, the simplest to digest. They're already in almost pre-digested form. So you focus on melons are great for when you're going through that. Melons are high in water, they're high in nutrients, and super easy to digest, can digest within literally minutes. So super bioavailable for our body, and they detoxify as well. Watermelon is one of the best for that. So focus more on those nutrient-dense foods, and you'll find the energy. You'll have cellular energy. So there's two ways that we feel energy. One is stimulation, like through the adrenal glands. You get scared, your energy levels go up. That's adrenaline. When you drink coffee, you're stimulating adrenaline release. Now, coffee does not give you energy. It drains you of energy. Stimulants drain you of energy. It uses up your energy. When you eat nutrient-dense foods, that actually gives energy to the cells. So when you feel energy from real nutrition, that's sustained energy. That will last you all, like not do the stimulant and then crash. Why are you crashing? Because you just used up all your available energy, and because you stepped on the gas pedal and burned up all your gas. Instead, why not feed your body more gas so it can run even longer? And that's what nutrition does as opposed to stimulants.
So I would assume that you're not drinking coffee, right?
No, I'm drinking branched chain amino acids, another way that the body can utilize energy, which is the body can make energy from carbohydrates, from fats, and from proteins. It can break them all down and convert them to usable energy. So our body does that on a regular basis. So even proteins can be broken down and to be used for energy, which is in the form of branched chain amino acids. And providing that type of cellular energy, you're going to feel a difference where you can wean yourself off of stimulants or not use them, and feel so much better and feel active and excited. And you can even use breath work, deep breathing exercises if you want a quick burst of energy.
So did you go through a phase where you were drinking coffee for a while and then you stopped, or have you?
Yeah, I was in a phase where I didn't care about my body at all because I was in a depressive state, and I wasn't making the connection. Now that I'm connected to my body, it's like, this is my best friend right here. This is the thing this is the person that is carrying me through my whole life. This is the thing that is giving me the opportunity to experience all these things, hugging people, loving my wife, sharing stories with people. I mean, these are all the joys of life. And this physical body, if it breaks down, you don't get to share those joys. You don't get to run around and play with your grandkids. I don't want to spend my days in the hospital. I don't want to spend my days filling myself with drugs because it's all breaking down. This should be your best friend. Treat it like your best friend. You wouldn't give your best friend things that harm it, would you? You wouldn't give your child junk, would you? No, you want them to have the best in life because you love them. Love this person too. This is the one that's going to carry you through your whole life. It's the one friend you'll have from the day you're born to the day you die. Take good care of it and treat it with respect, and it will do amazing things for you.
That's a really nice mindset shift. Very nice.
Yeah, and it's amazing when I see people pouring like so much junk and things that are harmful for themselves, and there's just such a big disconnect there. You know, everybody's seen a dog, you yell at the dog for doing something wrong, and 2 seconds later, it's got its head in your lap saying, I'm sorry, right? And you forgive it. You can't help but forgive it, right? Your body is doing that all the time. You throw junk in your mouth and stuff like that, your body says, no problem, I'll heal it, I'll repair it, I'll fix it, I'll do it, I'll get it out, I'll eliminate it, and I'll still keep you running. You know, it's amazing that we can put so much damage to our body and our body still says, don't worry, I'll heal you. I'm here for you. I'll help you. I'll protect you. It is a self-healing machine. It is doing everything in its possibility to make the most out of life for you. And what do? We don't exercise. We stress it out. We treat it like crap. We let it gain too much weight. I mean, these are not things you do to a friend, but it's what we're doing to the most important friend we have. And if you don't care for it, it breaks down to the point where it says, I really can't handle all these things you're doing to me. We're going to give up. You know, it's interesting. Somebody told me that taking medicines like drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, for a problem is like putting a pillow over a fire alarm so the noise won't bother you. No, the alarm is going off because it's trying to tell you, get the hell out of the building, it's burning down, and I'm trying to save your life. Don't, you know, it's the runny nose is to say, hey, I've got stuff in me that I need to expel. So we take an antihistamine and block that from coming out, you know? It's like we do a cough suppressant. Coughing is trying to get something out of the body. And we say, no, shut up, stop coughing. And that's the drugs we're taking for this. And I'm like, wow, you know, we're telling the body what to do because we think we know better. The body knows better. The body's evolved over millions of years to adapt to the environment. And it's such a gift to us. And all we have to do is listen. Any good relationship you have with any person is based on how well you can listen to them. Listen to this. This body can tell you lots. It's an amazing gift to us. And if you treat it with that type of respect and reverence, it can do amazing things for you.
Yeah, I can totally understand. I mean, it takes a while until you gain that intuition. But after a while, I mean, you definitely know if I eat this, I feel terrible. If I eat this, I feel terrible. If I do this, I feel terrible. And certain things make you feel really, really well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good point. It just takes a little bit of time to develop this intuition for some people longer, some people quicker, but at some point it comes.
It does, and that's why I want to help people understand that. Look, sometimes it's biofeedback, listening to your body, right? Okay, I do that and I break out in hives. Okay, I won't do that anymore. You know, that's your body telling you, hey, don't put that in there. I'm not good with that. Allergies. You know, I look at allergies, and what are allergies? Allergies are our body's response to a protein. Allergies only happen with proteins. So what is a protein? A protein can be, as far as our body is concerned, something that could potentially harm it. So what are those things? That's usually a parasite, a virus, or harmful bacteria, right? And all of those have proteins in them. So our body recognizes, hey, wait a minute, those proteins aren't anything I eat and aren't part of my own body, so they could be something that harms me. So I'll attack those proteins and I'll attack that to try to defend myself because it thinks it's a parasite, virus, bacteria, something that could be harmful to it. Well, when we go out and alter the proteins, genetically modified organisms, GMOs, when we alter the proteins of a plant, we're setting it up for the body to say, wait a minute, I don't recognize that protein. It's changed. That's not the wheat I know. That's not the corn I know. I'm going to start attacking it. So when I hear about all these people, oh, I'm allergic to this, I'm allergic to that. No, most people, I think, are allergic to us altering our own food proteins to the point where our body doesn't even recognize the protein and starts attacking and causes the inflammation and all the problems that come with it. So, you know, I've seen a lot of people, if you look at a graph between how much allergies have changed over the years, it's skyrocketed. And then you look at a graph of usage of GMOs, oh, wait, it's identical. You know, why is that? And it's clear, if you just understand how the body works, it's such an amazing orchestra. But when you figure out how the body works and start to work with it, it's such a difference in your experience of life. You can really enjoy life in ways that you've never experienced before when you start cooperating with your body, your best friend.
You mentioned fasting earlier. do you do intermittent fasting yourself, or like regular fasting days?
Yes, I do incorporate intermittent fasting most of the time. It's just become comfortable to me. I work out in a fasted state, and the science, it's still a new field of science, so I'm not going to state anything out of the ordinary, but what I feel is, look, when you, and the same, let's look at insulin and sugar. When you create a lot of sugar in the bloodstream, insulin comes to shuttle that sugar inside the cell. But if the cell gets hit by insulin too much, it starts to desensitize. The receptors start to shut down, say, oh, that's too much. And that desensitization to insulin is called type 2 diabetes. And that's what happens when we put too much, more specifically fat, and sugar, because all the fat clumps up in the cell, and then the body just shuts down the receptors, saying, I've got plenty of energy in here, I don't need any more. Well, then the sugar comes along and can't get in the cell, and that's when that sugar starts to damage other things like the eyes and cause crystals in the feet and all the rest of the host of things. But as you work out, when you create a dynamic where there is low blood sugar, low energy supply, it's receptive, you're doing just the opposite when you're working out in a fasted state. There's not energy. So now they all perk up and become even more receptive to the energy. Now you've created a demand by your workout for energy, for nutrients, for materials. And then the body is saying, now I'm really receptive to all that. Bring it on. And then your body can utilize those nutrients even at a better state because it's so much more receptive. So I think that's one of the most valuable points of intermittent fasting, is that you can get much better results, much better metabolism, much better usage of the materials, less of the materials being stopped at the receptors and not making it into the cells and ending up being stored as body fat. More of that energy can go right in the cell because you already created a demand for that energy. If you create the demand first and then feed the body, that's when you can get the best anabolic results. And that's what I found in my workouts, and why I can get 17-inch arms at 56 years of age.
That's enough proof, I would say. For sure. Yeah, it's interesting because everybody who's been on the show so far, so we had Corin, then we had Natalia, the German kickboxing champion, then we had Forrest Nash, we had Dave Marrero, and then we also had Lazelle. And all of them, they were doing intermittent fasting and training in a fasted state in the morning as well. And my brother and I were doing the same thing. So there's a trend going on. There's a trend
That's
going
awesome.
on for sure.
And I think some people will come to it intuitively because they just feel better. It just feels so much better to do that. And you are working with your body. So it's nice to know the science. If you can understand how your body is working and you can feel the difference, it's a dual positive, and that really confirms, I don't want to do it. Because when then you step out of doing that, like, I'm traveling and I have to eat a big meal in the morning because I got a presentation or whatever, and then I try to work out and I'm like, ugh. You can feel the difference, and it makes you want to go back to that. So understanding what's going on. And look, be forgiving to yourself too. That's my other big piece of advice. If you slip, if you go off or stuff, to say, okay, no big deal. I'm going back on it because I know it's the right thing and I know it's feel good. Don't beat yourself up and say, oh, I screwed up. Now I'm not perfect. Forget it. I'm not going to do this altogether. Don't do that to your body. It's not fair. You don't need to go that route. Forgive yourself and move on. I think one of the greatest gifts to spiritual growth is forgiveness. When we can forgive ourselves and forgive others, we can free ourselves from the negative bonds that make us do bad things and make bad choices. And the more we can forgive ourselves and others, we can come from a positive and empowered place saying, it's okay, I make mistakes, I'm going to do the right thing right now, because that's where I'm at. And as long as we can keep with that, we can keep moving forward, and we can be the most helpful to both ourselves and others.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think the self-talk that most of us carry around in our head, like if people would actually hear us, or if we would say this to a friend, it would not, we would never say that to somebody that we actually love. So, yeah, very, very good point.
It's powerful and transformative. When for me, that was what caused that big release in my very beginning, is that my father was an alcoholic and died when I was 18 years of age. And I felt a lot of anger. I felt like he abandoned me. I felt like he made the alcohol more important in my life. And I'm like, how dare you? You know, I need a father and you're not there for me. And I was so angry at him. But in that moment, what I did is I changed roles. I saw his position and I saw what was going on, that he was hurting and he couldn't fix his pain, his internal pain, his sadness. And he took his own life through alcohol. I should feel empathy for that. I should feel sadness for him, not him for being there for me. I should have been better there for him. And when I could see that empathy, I felt the forgiveness too as well. And all that anger that I had for him turned back into love for him. He was a hurting human being. You know, when you see people who are angry, the bottom line is they're hurting. And if it's anger directed at you, that's misplaced anger. It's not you. Don't take it personally, you know. It's them hurting inside. And what we should do is help them, not go away from them or call them an a-hole because they're being an a-hole. They're being an a-hole because they're hurting inside somewhere. They're not happy with themselves. That's why they're externalizing their anger. Yes, it's unfortunate we direct it at each other, but if we can rise above that and find a way to say, man, they must be really hurting. Let me walk over to them and ask them, how can I help in some way? Or look at what it is that's causing them some pain and just be there. And even just listen. It can be a powerfully transformative experience. And what you end up doing is helping that person and releasing their anger so they can be a better person to all the rest of the people who they were going to be angry at in the future. And you've just made not only their life better, but you've made all the people's lives who would have been confronted with their anger better because of that. So it's a great gift you can give to anybody. But when you can find that in your place, not to react to somebody else's anger, but to act and see that as them hurting and react and respond with love in that way, it can be life-changing. It's hard. There's no way around it. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not. It's the hardest thing when somebody really directs their anger at you to not react. But the more we can get out of a reactive state and into a self-empowered state that says, basically, we're all kind and loving people on the inside. There are things that hurt us and things that we don't understand and frustrate us that make us angry, that make those actions come out that way. But once we change in here, we can help people too as well. And that's what I'm trying to do. Someone help me release my anger and get back into forgiveness and allow my own love to come back out. Because when you're angry, it suppresses all the love that you would naturally feel. You cannot let that out. You cannot let your love out. When I released that anger and turned it into forgiveness and saw through empathy what my father was suffering, all that love for him came out instead of anger, instead of all this anger and frustration at him for leaving me. The hurt I was feeling, I felt his hurt, and now I was connected with him. We both were hurting. We both felt sad inside. And now I had a stronger connection with him than ever before. Unfortunately, it was after he died. But at least I still have that connection now.
That's amazing.
So don't wait till people die.
That's a very good point. People should remember that. Yeah, so it's really, so a lot of things in life, you're very focused on compassion, giving love to other people, loving yourself first as well. But then not focusing all of your attention on yourself, but really focusing on other people and trying to understand them and their emotions. I really love that. Like in Tim Ferriss' book, he has this exercise, the loving kindness, where you basically walk around and you just look at random people on the street and you just wish them like that they are happy. And I noticed that if you do this for a couple of days, you notice that a lot of people, like just by looking at them, they carry so much pain in them, and there's so much. Like sometimes we make a lot of assumptions about random people. And I think once you develop more compassion about people, once you really look at their problems more with compassion, and that those assumptions, they kind of go away. It's something that...
Yeah, and I think it's easy for most people to connect to compassion and animals that are hurting, innocents who are suffering, it's harder for us to connect in compassion to humans who are much more quick to judge when they're in an angry state or a frustrated state. What we see is that directed at us, and we get defensive. And if you see an animal hurting or suffering, who doesn't feel connected to that because they're innocent, but we make this judgment on human beings that somehow they're not innocent. And we're all babies, really. We're all learning. This life is difficult for everyone. I don't know anyone who's got this down perfect yet. I've never met anybody. But we can be better at it. We can get better at recognizing that we all are hurting in some ways inside, and we all have things to work on, and we all can benefit from each other's help and compassion, not judgment. And look, I know in the vegan movement, a lot of people, when they discover the injustice that's being done to animals, they get really angry. You should be. That's a natural. But take that anger and harness it and turn it around into love, and see how much more you can do for the movement in educating people in a kind way. Don't take that anger, that injustice that is so wrong being done to animals, and then turn it back on human beings. That's not doing the good for the movement, really. It is still wrong, but there needs to be a compassion, a sense of love and education that comes with that too. I know it's hard because when the light bulb comes on for so many people, myself included, the first thing you feel is, oh my God, how did I get lied to for so long? Why did I believe this? Why was I involved in this horror, this apocalypse of animal lives? Over 1 trillion animals being killed, suffering horrendously for zero reason. It's not about nutrition at all. Look, all essential amino acids, which make up proteins, they're all made by plants. Animals cannot make them. Branched chain amino acids, animals cannot make them. It's impossible. They're made by photosynthesis. So all the carbohydrates are made by plants. All the fiber is made by plants. All the essential amino acids that make up proteins are made by plants. All the vitamins and minerals come from the soil and the air and are made by plants. Animals don't make them. They cannot. So we're taking all these plant nutrients and feeding them to animals, then killing the animal and taking their plant nutrients. Why are we not just getting them from the plants and leaving the poor animals out of this equation? And it's just, there's no real excuse to it. And when that light bulb comes on, it's like, oh my God, would you do that to a friend? Would you kill your friend and steal his money? No, you go out and make your own money. You don't kill your friend and take what they've made. You don't kill the animal and take what they've eaten. Eat your own plants. You don't have to let them eat plants and then steal those plant nutrients. That's not fair, and it's not necessary. But when you see that and you see that injustice, please be careful not to turn that anger into pointing that anger at people. We all need to learn. We all need to grow. Most of us, except for the few that were fortunate enough to be born vegan, most of us came to this awareness and were eating animal products at one point in our life. We, think back to that time when you were and how you would have liked to be treated when making that change. Help people, don't judge people. You'll get so much more in helping the animals. If the ultimate goal is to help the animals, find a way that people will listen to and they will make the change. If you judge them, they're going to get even more defensive, and then they're going to continue eating animals for even longer, and that's not doing anything to help the animals.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed as well, that if you really attack somebody with their lifestyle choices, it's gonna lead to the exact opposite of what you wanted to achieve, pretty much in the end. Because nobody likes being told that their lifestyle is worse, like not the right one.
No, and there's so many positive things for it. I know there's a trend to want to show the negative side, and there's a place for that. I think some people is what it takes to get them to go to see the horrors before they make the change. So I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, but I think if you're a positive person and you like it, focus on all the health benefits. Look what you can do. You can have optimal health and amazing strength and incredible energy and all the positive you're doing for the environment and for others and for the animals. I mean, there's so much good, positive news about the changes that you can make with this. Improve your health. If that's where people are coming from the beginning, talk to them. Look, I'm 56-year-old, drug-free, no health of it, fully active. And there's so much good to be talking about in this movement that can inspire people to change. But every person, like, I'm a science geek, so I like talking about the physiology and the health and the nutrition part of it. But also I went on a serious path of trying to be more compassionate too. So whatever resonates with you most and made you feel best about your changes, share that with people. Share your success stories and your personal experience, and I think you'll get the best response. But realize not everybody is going to respond this. Some people respond to confrontation. Some people will repel from confrontation. Some people will respond to coming from a heart space. Some people will just poo-poo that and not listen to it at all. So you got to find out where the person is coming from. If health is important to them, if their finances are important to them, even look, if taxes are important to you, do you realize that over 50% of our tax dollars go to the healthcare system? And that I'm not taking anything from that. I have zero health insurance. My health insurance is what I put in my mouth. and so I am doing the least to cause your taxes. Whereas everybody out there who is making bad health choices in their diet is causing our taxes to go up. So you should be angry at them, not at our government for taxes. You should be angry at the people that are choosing a bad diet and are causing the drain on our healthcare system. I'm not one of those. I'm actually helping reduce your taxes, at least here in the United States.
Yeah, there's so many angles to go about it.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways you can approach it. Find out what resonates with you and made you feel the best, and because that's what you're going to shine with, and talking with other people about it. But also listen to where they're coming from, and if you've got something that you can hear is important to them, maybe address some of the positives that if they make the change could help them in what's important to them, whether it be health or the environment or whatever.
I really have to admit that I could actually listen to you for another 2 hours. But I think at this point we probably should, I would say thank you for your time. It's been incredible. I could really listen to you for hours. And I know there's so many things that we haven't covered yet. Like, I really want to go more into the nutrition side. I want to go more into the story of how you build Clean Machine. But I would say we keep that for another interview. And then we had like 2 1-hour interviews in the end. So at this point, I just want to say thank you for your time. It's been a very inspiring talk. I'm pumped right now. Very nice. Really appreciate it.
And thank you for allowing me to come on the show and share some of my experiences over the last 34 years and things that I've learned with others. My father was a professor, and he said, Jeffrey, the best way to learn is to teach, because it'll make you want to learn the best. So that you have the best to give others. And that's really exciting for me, and why I love lecturing all over the country, because I keep looking for the absolute best that nature has to offer, so that I can bring that to other people and bring that news of health and happiness to others too as well. So thank you for giving me another place to share that information with.
Thank you. I love that. Yeah, we will keep it for the next call.
Sounds good.